Hey there, my biz people. The question is often asked, does size matter? Well, it does when it comes to social media. So tonight, I like to share with you some of my findings and a cool tool that you too can utilize so that you don't have to put things to memory. Let's get busy. Hey there, I'm Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. And tonight we're going to be answering the question, does size matter when it comes to social media? And the answer is simply yes, it does. And here's the reason why. Social media is one of your most key factors of getting your message in front of your intended audience. Now, for many of you, you may only be playing in one sandbox, meaning you may only be playing to one audience in one platform, and that's cool. But even so, there's a difference in how you will show up in that social media platform that's going to determine the quality of the images that you've put so much time and effort into to get your message in front of your intended audience. That being said, one size does not fit all. And so oftentimes what I see is that there are social posts that are put out and it's one image and it's cascaded across multiple platforms. And so I see the picture on Instagram, I see it on Twitter, I see it on Pinterest, I see it on LinkedIn, I might see it on Facebook or Instagram, right? Well, that's all well and good. However, the challenge with that is they don't all show up in the same way that you think is going to show up. So the picture may be great, but the recipient on this inside of the platform, they're not seeing the picture as you think they're seeing it. And there lies the problem. You do have to put a little extra effort into preparing your social media posts so that it will play nicely in the different sandboxes that are the social media platforms themselves. So, tonight, what I thought I'd do is to walk you through some of those key features that are relevant to the social posts that you put out in the various platforms that we call social media. So give me one second and I'm going to share a screen. So if you haven't already done so, I am Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach, and you can find me inside of Content Creation Tips and More Facebook group. This is our space where solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches spend a little time getting to grow their business using content marketing strategies like the ones I'm covering tonight. So if you haven't already done so, please join me over in our space. Simply go to smallbizsociety.com and you'll be able to get access to all the resources that we have to offer. Excuse me. Alrighty. Now, what I'd like to do is to bring up a screen. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you haven't already done so, again, share the group. And we'll get it. Sorry for my phones, guys. Make sure. All right, sorry for the interruption. All righty, so make sure you join us there. So I'm going to share my screen, and then what you are able to do, and I'll have a little freebie for you guys to sign up for at the end of this session. So please join me over there as well. So let me pop in my screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through some of the platforms. I might not get through all of them tonight, so this might be a two-parter, so just out of the nature of time. So do be mindful of that. But I'm going to walk you through as many of the different platforms and the different images you may not even know that you need to know about as well. So we're going to do it from that standpoint. So give me one second. Okay. And we are good. All right, so let's get right into it. All right, so Obviously, we have a variety of different social media platforms themselves to utilize, right? And so I'm going to go through the most popular ones that are available. Give me one second, and take that there. There we go. All righty. So the first one is going to be Facebook. And so there are several different images that you should be aware of when it comes to the images that are housed inside of your social media accounts themselves. The first one, obviously, is your personal page. So on your personal page, you're going to have a profile image or a profile video image. Did you know that you can do video on your profile page? Haha, now you do. So again, there are a variety of different sizes that are going to be required. There's typically a minimum size, which is usually 180 by 180, and we use the sizes in the form of pixels, pixelations. That is the image format that we will measure things by. And so in our guidebook, what you'll notice here is we give you a true dimensions of what does that mean. You don't necessarily have to have it in a circle, but it will be placed inside of a circle as far as the cutout goes in the actual placement of your image. You also have some size limitations as well. So while the minimum is going to be about 180 to 180, you can go as big as 360 pixels in a basically square. And then the other thing is that the size, you shouldn't be any bigger than 30 megabytes. Nothing should really be that big. I don't know what type of a picture you would need to put up that would be that big in size. But again, if you're using it and you can put in your video, well, you can use it up to 4 gigabytes in file size. Now, there's also this aspect of what types of image files does Facebook accept. Now, in the case of Facebook, they'll accept GIF, which is a GIF file, which is basically an animated image file, no sound, right? You can put the GIF files typically are pretty synonymous to a static file like a JPEG or PNG file. You can use a TIFF file in some of the others, which are way more popular if you're into graphics, more so than your typical JPEG and PNG. PNGs are really good because you can make them transparent backgrounds. In some cases, that might be what you want to utilize given the nature of where it's being placed. That's another conversation for a different day. But we did want to make sure that you did. So start right, make sure how you show up in your social media by way of your personal picture. Now, for those of you, particularly inside of our social media, inside of our group, Content Creation Tips and More, you should have a business page. So your photo cover and your photo profile pictures are two images that are typically found on that space. So your cover image is basically the header. And in that case, you'll notice it's more horizontal and it is high. So it's not square. And again, recommendations is about 851 by 315. Now, again, when we go back to your business page profile picture, very similar in nature. It should be square or because it will be placed in a round placeholder. And then again, 180 by 180 is the recommended size, but you can go a little bit smaller depending on the different types of placement. But the ratio is a 1-to-1, i.e. square. And again, you can still use the same image files themselves. Now we have your Facebook cover photo size. So your Facebook page, you have a cover image, again, part of your header. So in that particular case, very similar, 851 by 315. And when you're working on shared images and your video posts themselves, this is where it could be a little funky. Your news feed, where your pictures are going to be a part of your profile, this is basically one of your popular places. So in this particular case, you'll notice again that those images are not square in nature. So that means if you don't put it in a horizontal rectangular shape, as is the recommended space size for that particular image placement in your news feed, then what happens is if you put a square one in there, it's going to kind of get readjusted by the platform. So again, it's not the ideal. So you may want to make sure that if you want it to play nicely, then for your video posts and for your shared images, you may want to go with a 1280 by 720. Again, landscape. Now, square will still be taken, don't get me wrong, but just know inside that that is the type of size placement that you have. And then we have shared links and your shared images. Again, same thing applies. When you're working, this is that optional type of a link. Usually it's going to be found when you're looking at your Facebook features. It works very similar to the shared images one, but it proves to be even gives you a couple more options, if you would. So you have the options of sharing a link. And so when you share a link, that picture that you're sharing that's a part of that link is what's going to kind of populate inside of the post itself below. That's where it needs to be more square. I mean, rather more rectangular in space. So again, it just kind of depends when you're looking at your image. Your event image is one of those places. So your event image is where you're going to be on your calendar size of your spaces. And in that particular case, again, 470 by 174. So you notice there are differences. It's a lot shallower or narrower in height than it is wide. So that's where, again, size matters. So your Facebook events, which is typically inside of the calendar of your space, of your account, is where you would want to make sure that your size is adjusted for that particular placement. So every cover, like your cover image is not going to fit over on your calendar for your event page. It could fit, but you're going to have some cutoff. So you kind of want to make sure that that kind of falls in line as well. Okay. You have your Facebook group cover. Now, again, it's rectangular in nature. So for those of you who have a Facebook group itself, you want to make sure, again, that your picture resonates nicely and that is going to keep in mind. The other piece to this is you have to kind of play with the Facebook cover photo. I've learned over the years is there's still some kind of what I say, you still need to have like some plain blank space at the bottom of your image, because I found that even when you place it, it still has some play room and wiggle room in there. And you just want to make sure that it's going to, you can kind of adjust it accordingly. So never put images on all the way to the edge when it comes to any of your photo placements. And the reason for that is you just never know how it's going to land. And so you always want to have some forgiveness space or that framing around any of your posts themselves. Now, Facebook stories, again, now we're talking portrait, and now we're talking, again, 1080 by 9020. Again, sharing in that same thing inside of your timeline and you post, you also want to be able to create those story images. And again, although they're only visible for the 24 hours, unless you put them in your highlights. So if you put them in your highlights, then they will stay forever. But if not, then you want to make sure that the picture that you are putting up there to share in your stories is going to land nicely. And again, you can use your GIFs, you can use movie files, you could use MP4 files, you could use PNG files, and you can use JPEG files. But the ideal ratio is a 9:16, or by size of pixel, we're looking at 180 to 920. Now, your 360 video. Now, this is a little bit different. This is if you're using your camera to shoot video automatically. It's going to contain some information, and that's going to incorporate your 360 with your video. So it's a little bit of an advanced feature function inside of your pages when you're uploading video, and then it utilizes Facebook's 360 control options. And so you have some play with that. I can't demonstrate that with you right now, but just know that when you're uploading video, you may experience some other settings that the platform may be offering you, just so that you can maximize the quality of your placement of your picture image when it comes to Facebook. So we're going to pause. I'm going to come on out. Let me see if I can stop sharing for a sec. And there we go. All righty. So that's just Facebook alone. And you can see there are several different images that are going to be, you're going to experience just with that one platform alone. So let's hunker over and we're going to do next one. I think is going to be Twitter. So let's go check out Twitter. No, I think we do Twitter, we do Instagram. Oh, we're going to do Instagram. Okay. We're going to do Instagram. Give me 1 second. Okay. Make sure my screen. There we go. All right. Let's get to the next video. So you're noticing the differences that there are and how specific that they can be, but it's only when you're using them is it going to really benefit you. So this is why these things are really important, that you're getting the right image sizes for each one of the different platforms. So let's see how different things play out when we go to Instagram. So let's go over there. I'm going to do a quick share again. And window. All righty. And let's go full screen. All right. So Instagram, although they are sister and brothers, they don't necessarily all use the same file format. So let's check this one out. All right. So inside of Instagram, you do have your profile picture. So again, while it's very popular, you want to make sure that your pixel size for your Facebook, for your Instagram profile size should be no bigger than 320 by 320. You can, as long as it's in the same type of a ratio, you typically don't have a problem. But it's, again, you may have a square image. You do not have to have a circle image to go into the square space. It's going to automatically proportion itself inside of the cutout that's there. So just make sure that the components of the photo that you want to focus on are going to be centered so they don't get chopped out. Then you have what we call your photo thumbnails. In some cases, when people visit your page, they will see a lot of the different material organized in rows and thumbnails. So when visitors click on these smaller versions of your photographs and the videos, they're then enlarged and then they'll include that space to where others can, do their remarks on. So again, thumbnails 161 by 161 on the page. And if you take a square shot, make sure that you're keeping that same ratio 1:1. Now, when you're thinking about your carousels, what you'll notice in this particular case, again, we go back to rectangular size. So when you're creating those kind of reoccurring content, your carousels are going to really come in handy. So they make use of up to 10 images or videos, right? And in a single, or maybe even for like a single ad. And it makes it easier for your viewers to understand the message without having to change from one different page to another. That's the whole point around carousels. So the nice thing about carousels is, again, it's you can do both portrait, you could do it in landscape, you can do it in square. But the recommended width overall, notice even though they're different in their heights, the overall width should be no more than the 180 pixels. And again, Instagram story, very similar to Facebook stories. Horizontal map, portrait size images that, again, allowing you to publish your pictures for up to those 24 hours on from your profile. And then again, save it under your highlights so that they could be found later if you want to keep them saved. And you want, again, ratio is a 9:16. Now your in-feed video is a little different. Again, horizontal and square are acceptable. So you can do both. So just know, again, given the nature of the type of image or where you took the picture, how you took it. Sometimes you're taking it on your cell phone. It's going to be more in a portrait setting versus if you're able to do it like on a webcam, then you can kind of manage the square spacing. But you can still use some controls even with your video on your camera. You just have to have enough foresight to know that that's what you wanted to do in keeping where you're wanting to do it and also where it's going to be placed. So you'll have that. Now, your Instagram Reels, ideally should be in square, 1-to-1, 180 by 180. And also, you can do your file formats in MP4 or MOV if you're using a Mac. And I want to say right now they're at 30, but they might have gone up even more. They're always changing as of 20, as of last, yes, 2022, they've changed. Now, your IGTV, again, notice the difference in the format. So a lot of this is really going to depend on what is your message? What are you trying to convey? What portion of the platform are you putting this messaging on? And what one would best be ideal for how you want to present the information that you have to your audience. So if you are using IGTV, then you have the forgivingness, if you would, you have that width. So there may be opportunities where that's really going to play to your benefit, where you're able to either demonstrate or do things in a broader sense, and you're not kind of kept into this kind of square space when you are with Reels. So those are some of the differences, although and also it's going to play nice in a full screen on your cell phones, which is also a nice thing as well. So if you haven't already been working with IGTV, then this might be the format you want to use, given the nature of what type of content you're putting on. IGTV in particular is good when you're doing things like interviews and such like that, because putting two people inside of that frame is a lot more forgiving than trying to do Instagram Reels and trying to put something, and having two people in there is a little bit more tight. So again, what are you doing it for and why? And it's always going to keep these things in mind when it comes to your image sizes. All right, so that was for Instagram. So we go to TikTok. And inside of TikTok, again, same things kind of apply. You have your profile page. Notice that the size is much smaller. So now we're looking at a 20 by 20 ratio. And it's also for not only is it, I want to say not only is it going to be for your profile, but it's also going to be used. So you want to make sure that because it's so small that you want to have a really high quality image. So you don't want to have something that is having you like far away and in the background. You want something that's really crisp and has a really nice close up because it is such a small picture in and of itself. So it doesn't have much playroom, if you would, to go by. Now your organic videos, meaning that again, on the fly, your photo, you want to do it is going to again be portrait. 851 by 316 is the ideal one. Again, same kind of a ratio, 9:16 ratio. Now you can do square. Just know that the ideal in this particular case for the platform is for you to create those video posts, and that portrait is ideal, but you can still do it in square. It will still be received and taken that way. Now, you do have your business profile page as well, so you certainly want to make sure that that too is in a nice, crisp image file that's going to show up and resonate nice. Again, a 180 by 180 is always going to be nice, so make sure that you're centering yourself in those pictures. Now, when we think about Twitter, here's the deal. Twitter, a lot of people don't think that it's very text-based in nature, but that's not to say that images are not important. So your profile image definitely is. Some people use themselves, some people use caricatures, but in this particular case, your ratio is a 400 by 400, still square in nature, and it will also take your JPEG, and you can still use GIF images for your picture files as well. So you can give that some kind of consideration if that's what you're looking to do. Now, you also have a header photo, and that too is again a little smaller, but it's in square. And this image is at the top of your Twitter profile page, and is your header photo. So because it's much larger than your profile photo, because the profile photo is the one that kind of lands when you are doing each one of your tweets. Okay. Whereas your header photo is the one that's going to be on your landing page as a profile. So when people come to that page, that's what they're going to see you there. So again, Make sure it's appealing because you want to be able to portray yourself accordingly. So make sure you do that. Now, here's where I noticed that there is differences in what people are posting, and that comes to your shared photos and your links. When you are tweeting, then you want to add an image file. Ideally, it should be rectangular and not square. Square will load. Don't get me wrong, it will work, but it's not the ideal. So this platform really prefers a rectangular post. So that means you need to make some adjustments. If you want to use a similar post that you just did for your Facebook and you want to show up on Twitter in the same way, you need to have an adjusted image file. What will happen is that your square is going to post inside of the rectangular. So you already know it's not going to look right. So why not do it and make the adjustments on yours so that the picture that you want to have seen by your intended audience is seen in its ideal place. So again, rectangular 1200 by 566 is the ideal. Now, you also can put multiple pictures in Twitter so that they'll kind of cascade, if you would, or they'll put in kind of like a grid. So you do have some options. But again, you still have to kind of play with that spacing. But again, one picture rectangular is ideal. Now, ads and for images and your videos, a little different in size, but not by very much, right? Now we're looking at kind of 180 by 335, right? Again, so if you're running Twitter ads for your video or for your post, those are some differences in their sizes. So you want to make sure that it's going to resonate well either on your cell phone as well as on a desktop. And that's one of the real reasons for having the different sizes is because that resolution and how it's going to land on the different devices for displaying are going to make a difference. And so you want to make sure that you're putting a quality picture up and not just throwing up the same picture all over the place. And so you can easily in your feed for your video for Twitter, you can do landscape and portrait orientations. While in some cases that might not necessarily be the case, but I did capture for you guys both of them. So you have your horizontal videos, and there's certain sizes that is going to work really nice for video, and then the same thing with your landscape videos and horizontal. So you can kind of get a difference between the two. So again, they'll make sense when you do your posts inside of Twitter. So you have some options when it comes to that organic content. But you can, again, make those same adjustments on your camera inside of your cell phones. Now, when we think about Pinterest, a little different here. Portrait's always going to be you'll notice the difference, right? So in portraits across all the platforms, as long as it's square, it's going to place inside of the placeholder. This one happens to be 320 by 320 is the pixelation that they would prefer so that you get that's going to resonate well with your brand. If you would rather have something a little smaller in scale, it's going to work, but just make sure that you want to put something that's of good quality when it comes to your profile picture. And then, of course, they have some size limitations. Anytime it's a size limitation and it's not going to load, then you need to go to tinywow.com, tinywow.com. And there you can resize and compress your picture file so that it could be to the size that will allow on any of the platforms themselves. Now, so there are pins and then that are allowed inside of Pinterest. And so pins are going to contain only one picture, as known as the kind of standard or static pin. And if you are regular in your pinning, then if you want to follow these same instructions, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So you want to make sure that, again, example, 851 by 315, no larger than 1000 by 1500. is the other size. Then you have your board displays, which again are essential when you are creating on your Pinterest account is you want to create your boards. And so your boards are again another simple size. You have what we call the thumbnail size, and then you have well, there's two sizes. There's a small thumb size and a bigger thumbnail size. And then there's the actual display board itself. So it has basically two different settings when you're creating inside of Pinterest. So you want to make sure you account for both. If you leave it blank, then it just doesn't look good. Now, when we're thinking about collection pins, then here again is where it's going to land. It'll be a little different. 851 by 315 is just another size that are made up for, again, those kind of big pictures and videos. So as the main creative, and at least 3 small images are supplementary creatives that you can have underneath that picture as well. So you can create up to 24 secondary photos in a collection pin, which is really nice. So it's almost kind of like a montage or a collage of pictures that you can have all kind of together. Now, there are idea pins. Now, these are pins with, again, many photos, videos. You can have lists. You can have some custom text, are known as idea pins. So idea pins are only available inside of your business Pinterest account and not even all the regions. But I think everything's live just about now. And again, you can add up to 20 distinguishing pictures in a single pin idea. So it kind of follows the same factor as a kind of like I said, almost kind of like a collage, if you will. So in putting one pin, it's all in a similar or collection of photos are all done at the same time. And now we have story pins, which are kind of like short form video, very similar to Instagram. Did you know that you could put video and stuff like that on your Pinterest account? But you can. And so again, following a very similar nature, portrait size. And again, they do have, I think, what's their movies? Do I have can't remember if I have I don't know if I have a video size or not. Can't remember, but I'm going to double check. Let's see if there was a length, 1 minute long. Sorry, 1 minute long for the video story pin. So good for that. Then if you want to have shared video, meaning that people, again, if you're on your business account, you can submit video content so that they can be shared and pinned on other people's boards. And that too, very similar in nature. It's going to be a horizontal, and you also have, I think, it's about pretty much a 9:16 ratio as well. So here's the nice thing. Anything that's video and story, for the most part, are still going to use the same ratio. So in this particular case, that means that you could do that one time and it's going to be able to yield a nice, nicely on inside of the different accounts itself. So you have that to work with. And you also can do promotional videos. So basically for advertising's sake. So you do have that as well when it comes to Pinterest. So they've been coming a long way. And I think a lot of times we're always forgetting that Pinterest is a search engine. So just like people go to YouTube looking for things to how to and what to do, Pinterest is your other one. So it's a really great space for you to be sharing your time and your talent and your information in the platform where people could be looking for the information that you can be the expert in. Okay, so now we're hitting on over to LinkedIn. My Facebook for business people, I like to call it. Again, your profile here, very similar in nature. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. Want to make sure that it's a professional networking platform. So you want to make sure that all the pictures of yourself are going to come across as nicely as possible. Again, JPEG, PNG, and no ideal they have it as 300 by 300. But again, a 1-to-1 ratio, and it should work out well for you. You have your personal background image. Now, again, in this particular case, it's a new design for personal profiles. So you want to make sure that the image that you have is going to, again, symbolize who you are and what you do. So make sure that that picture background is what you want it for. Again, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You also have your kind of cover image or your company logo page. And so that cover image is fairly narrow. And what I want you to keep in mind is you notice here's the cutout because this is where your personal picture from back here, that profile picture or your company image is what's overlapping. So that means when you're doing your layouts for these particular placements, you want to make sure that you have clearance here, that none of your copy or any relevant image pieces are showing up over there. So you always want to make sure that that placement is done really nicely. But you also know it's very narrow, which means that, again, you don't have a lot of playroom. Again, when you're doing your social post, more horizontal. So think of LinkedIn and Twitter are like cousins. So they will apply in both. So that's for that. Now you can do your ads are going to be 1-to-1 ratios. So they're pretty much a yeah, well, kind of. No, I shouldn't say it kind of looks like a square, but it's not. It is recommended though for your logo size. But uh, they have it here as 336 by 180 is the ideal. So again, it kind of just depends on where you are, but LinkedIn images sizes for your ads are ideal is pretty much kind of close to square in nature. And then your shared videos, same thing applies. Horizontal, a 1 to 20. Ooh, I want to make sure I say 2.4 by 1 in your video. So pretty much again, narrow, horizontal in nature. Um, and these are for your shared video. So these are when you're doing your post and you'll be able to put them out there for things like your LinkedIn. You can share it over on YouTube and your LinkedIn Plus, Pulse, I should say, articles are also placements where this picture size or video size will work well for you. Then we have YouTube. So when we're thinking about YouTube, your channel profile, again, it's a 1-to-1, 800 by 800 is ideal. Now, in this particular case, the channel profile is not necessarily you as it could be your brand. So you have that option as well when you're thinking about your channels. Then you have your actual channel cover, your photo. So again, the artwork and everything, think of it in the placement of a pretty kind of rectangular in nature. It's recommended that be looking at least 851 by 315. And it shouldn't, again, don't put anything too far around the edges unless you want stuff to bleed, and then you're just going to take a chance of whether or not it's going to get cut off or not. And the video uploads, again, horizontal is always better. Same thing, 180. Oh, that's wrong. 120, 1280 by 720 is for your thumbnails. So your thumbnails are that placeholder image that's going to be like a cover to the video that's being played each time. So in that particular case, it's looking at 1280 by 720. And then again, your 16 by 9 video ratio is pretty much standard across all of the different platforms. But again, thumbnails are really important when it comes to YouTube. So you want to put some real thought into the artwork, and that is going to be an eye-catching image that you want to make sure works well. So square is not going to work well for a thumbnail. So do it the right way. And then your video ads, if you're doing ad placements inside of YouTube, same thing. Rectangular, ideal is going to be 851 by 315. And I think they've kind of started to really stabilize. At one point, we were just going back and forth with all the different image sizes. It was a real headache. Now you can do YouTube Shorts, just in case you haven't figured this out already. So this debuted back in 2020. And so again, short form videos and 60 seconds in length. Again, portrait. So we're going with the 9:16 ratio. So you're noticing that you can now place that same video across multiple platforms and you don't have to remember so much all the time. Now, when we think of Tumblr, this is social networking and blogging platform. So for those of you who are Tumblrogs, are using short blog posts, then again, your portrait image again is it's fairly small, but again, 128 by 128, so square. Your banner is again rectangular, and when you're thinking about your dashboard image file, again, how are you, or your branding in this particular case is still fairly rectangular, square in nature. So we're looking at a 920 by 1280. And your photo sets, that means that you're going to have that one image at the very top, and that's going to have a 500 pixels in width. And then the two other images that are below it are going to be about half the size. So about 245 on the width. And then each one of them have um, a place for, and if you do three pictures, then it's going to be 160 images wide. Okay. Now, inside of that same space, if you want it for your shared photos and for your shared links, those pictures, those like kind of again thumbnails for that feature of your post, then that too is going to be about a 130 by 130, so more square in nature for those links for those posts. Now, you have image ads that you can run, and those two are going to run in a portrait in nature, so 1920 by 1280. Now, believe it or not, inside of Google My Business, you too have specs that you want to make sure are going to work and play nice in your Google My Business sandbox. So again, square is best for your business photo, your cover photo, and your logo photo. So I do kind of keep it simple for you in that particular case. Now, for those of you who are still hanging out in Snapchat land, you have your Snapchat geo filter. And in that particular case, again, we're going 9 by 16. So that same ratio is going to apply. All righty. So that, my friends, let me see if we can get this back. Alrighty. So there, my friends, is all you need to know about why size matters. So you see all the differences, right? So there are different opportunities depending on what sandbox you're playing in when it comes to social media land. And you want to make sure that your pictures are going to land nicely inside of the different platforms. If you should have any questions, and in fact, what I've done for you guys, give me 1 second. Let's see if I put it here. There we go. I put a little something together for you. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to put it here in the comments. So if you'd like a copy of my new guide, you can click on this link right here. Let's see if it's going to let me do it. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Okay, and it's posting there for you there. And I'm going to pop it up here. I don't think it's going to, the network's being slow, so give it 1 second. I'm going to see if I can populate it here real quick. Give me 1 second. And I think the internet's being a little funky today. There we go. And I'm going to populate that in here for you and put it on here on the banner, and then you guys can use it. There we go. There he is. So, I did not type that really good. I did a boo-boo. So I'm going to make that. Let me fix that. Hold on. Let me fix that. Let me fix that. Sorry. It would be good if I knew how to type. Here we go. There we go. See if that'll work for you. All right, I'm going to delete this one. All right. So you can go to tinyurl.com/social media image cheat sheet. And there you can get a copy of my latest guide, and I will have that ready for you momentarily. It's in production. So until next time, this is Dr. Yam. I am your Keep It Simple coach. And remember, when it comes to social media, size matters. Until next time, let's get busy, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.